Hi, welcome to the show. We're going to have a film this evening. Our host is Eva Medzorian. Why don't you tell us about the film, Eva?
Okay, thank you. It's a 16-minute documentary, the title of which is Armenian Struggle for Survival. The film was selected as the winner in the 1993 Hometown Video Festival in the international category. The award was presented July 23rd in Atlanta, Georgia. There were over 2,000 entries from 420 cities, 40 states, 5 Canadian provinces. And now won't you please join us as we see the film.
And stay tuned afterwards. We'll try to update it a little bit and put it in context. Thank you.
The Soviet Union has disintegrated, and the Cold War is over. But fear, greed, ethnic rivalries, and territorial claims have turned many regions into hot war zones. One of the first to suffer was Nagorno-Karabakh, an ancient Armenian land which is now in the 4th year of a disastrous blockade by Azerbaijan. This land has been under continuous heavy bombardment by multiple warhead missiles and other weapons directed at the helpless civilian population who have been starved and terrorized and have been living in their cellars as bomb shelters for the past 2 years. These ancestral Armenian lands are being systematically stripped and destroyed, starting in 1991 with Getashen, Mardunashen, and working their way through Shahumyan and Mardaguer. The Azeri government is engaged in ethnic cleansing, a policy of torture, death, and destruction to depopulate the Christian Armenians from these areas and replace them with their own. This is their final solution to the Armenian problem. In addition, Armenia has been blockaded for the past 4 years by Azerbaijan for not renouncing the right of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh to be independent. Armenia, having already suffered catastrophic losses because of the 1988 earthquake, is having her borders attacked and bombed as well. Armenia still has 300,000 homeless because the Azerbaijani blockade effectively prevents construction materials from entering Armenia. To date, another 280,000 refugees from Nagorno-Karabakh and Azerbaijan have fled to Armenia for safety, compounding the acute housing shortage. With the frigid winter upon them, this tragic state of affairs is further exacerbated by Azerbaijan's refusal to permit fuel and energy into Armenia, thereby deliberately attempting to impoverish the Armenian people, destroy their economy, and crush their democratic independent spirit. Civilization and humanity demand that the world say, enough. And now we want to show you the horrible realities of Azerbaijan's ethnic cleansing policy.
Дон, готов или нет?
What kind of a life is this? The buildings are all bombed. There's so much death and destruction.
Самолетները սկսեցին բոմբեր վեկցել, մենք էլ դեղ ենք։ Ոչ բոմբը самолет уже բոմբեր գցավ։
The airplanes came. They started dropping bombs.
Տանկերը մտան։
We were there.
Տանկերը տանկերը
Then they started firing on us from the air, and their tanks entered. There were so many, I couldn't count them all. Their battalion included Russian fighters, Uzbeks, different nationalities. One of their tanks came after me. It was one of the smaller ones that hit me. Somehow I got away, but it pursued me, and I was run over by it. I was saved by a tree. The tank stalled, and they were having trouble starting it up again. They got out of the tank to escape. Just at that moment, our boys came and rescued me. They capture little children and kill them. I've seen it. They mutilate the bodies of the dead, cutting off ears, noses, and other parts. They act like wild animals. You see before you children who have been wandering for 9 months from village to village. They had homes, lived civilized lives, but as a result of the policy of the Azerbaijan government, their army attacked and burned our village to the ground. They forced the evacuation of our village. We escaped under bombardment. Finally, when the blockade of the Lachin road was broken, our friends from Armenia initiated the process of rescuing the children And since the end of May, the children are here in Armenia. He's married, has 3 children. One of them is a 7-year-old girl, one of them is a 5-year-old boy, and a 3-month-old baby boy. Let him tell you the story about what happened in his region. Every day, the Azeris bombed our region. It seems that with the exception of atomic arms, they were using every other type of weapon against the peaceful population. I don't understand how the people of the world can be so indifferent. How is it possible that anyone would use such weapons against women and little children? I want to tell you that they are trying to eliminate our nation. A real genocide is now taking place. For the last 4 years, they have killed and are still destroying our women and children. It seems the whole world is passive to our plight. Can you watch women, children, and elderly be killed and remain indifferent? Many pregnant women, for example, terrified by the heavy bombardment, became sick. Many delivered abnormal babies. Large numbers cannot have babies out of fear. They suffer from heart trouble. And daily, many have heart attacks. How do you keep food from spoiling? There's no electricity. It's dark, wet, and damp. We were not ready for these conditions so that we could have evacuated our people. Our people didn't want to fight, nor have they ever started a conflict. They only try to defend themselves, and until this very day, that is what they're trying to do, defend themselves.
On December 7th, 1992, 4 years after the calamitous earthquake in Armenia, and around the time of the imposition of the blockade by Azerbaijan against Armenia, the president of Armenia declared a state of national disaster and appealed to the international community for humanitarian assistance. The Secretary General of the United Nations authorized the Undersecretary of Humanitarian Affairs to coordinate that assistance. However, only strong, persistent international action can put an end to this devastating blockade by Azerbaijan, whose purpose is to strangle the Armenian community and destroy the nation.
congratulations on the award and on the film. I thought we'd try to put this in a little bit of context, a little bit of update now. Just as a point of interest, the film ended showing shelling in Shomian, which is, I've got 3 maps here that show the area. This is Lake Sevan over here. This is Shomian here, which is on this map called Shomianovsk, the Russian name for the town. And the shelling is still going on there, by the way. Should anybody wonder, there's a great deal of bombing of Nagorno-Karabakh and even of Armenia itself. In fact, up here at Bert, which is in Armenia proper, this area is being shelled. This, I don't know if you can see it, there's a black dotted line here. This is the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And of course, the struggle with Azerbaijan is with Nagorno-Karabakh, not Armenia. The role of Armenia is a matter of controversy, both in Armenia and in the world. But the conflict is between Nagorno-Karabakh and Azerbaijan. Nagorno-Karabakh, of course, has been part of Azerbaijan and declared its desire for independence of Azerbaijan, because it's populated almost entirely by Armenians.
Also, I think it's a good time to point out that that region has a history, an Armenian ancient history that goes back 3,000 years.
Right. It's the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh are nothing new. They've been there for a very long time. Some of these, if you can see on the map, there's this dark area. There's a finger or almost a paw that reaches down here. This is Nagorno-Karabakh. This very mountainous area here. Below this heavy line here is Iran, which this part of Iran, by the way, is populated by about 20 million Azeris. The same people basically who live in Azerbaijan up here above the line.
Devellin, can you show us where the action is? Most of the action lately.
Here's Shusha. Shusha, is that right?
Yeah,
you can correct my pronunciation if I'm wrong. This is Shusha here, this city here. Here's Stepanakert here, and this is the heart of Nagorno-Karabakh up here along this line. It's separated from the Republic of Armenia, but there's a road that forms a corridor that runs down here towards Goris, excuse me, in Armenia. And of course, they've wanted to keep establish their contacts with Armenia. Now, this is an Azeri.
That's the humanitarian corridor where the food is.
Right, to keep goods flowing along, material, food, etc. They've got an airport up here at Stepanakert, which they've undoubtedly made some use of. But of course, these airports are very difficult to keep open under these circumstances. Then there's another corridor up here. There's a town. I've written in the name. They might got the town marked, but not the name. Kelbadzer, which is also shown on this map here. Kelbadzer, which you can see its relationship to Armenia. Again, here's the border with Armenia, and again along the roads here, there's another corridor into Armenia and over towards Lake Sevan.
And incidentally, many missiles were coming from Kelbadzer into Armenia before the Armenian forces quieted the missiles.
At one time, the Nagorno-Karabakhian forces were restricted pretty much to this area, but they've now gotten control of all of Nagorno-Karabakh, and of course there's an interior here. All this, as you can see, there's very difficult mountains in here, and the Nagorno-Karabakh forces has moved out beyond the high mountains themselves into the foothills and beginnings of the plains around. Fuzuli and Agdam are two important cities that served as staging areas for Azeri movement against Nagorno-Karabakh. And by moving into these areas, the Nagorno-Karabakhians have been able to reduce the threat of the Azeri invasion into Nagorno-Karabakh. There's still shelling, missiles, etc., coming into the area and making life difficult and unpleasant, but the ability of the Azeri forces to penetrate these mountains has been reduced.
This is an awfully good map, you know, Devellin, because it shows how close this Akhtam is to the border of Karabakh.
Yeah,
and you can understand how easy it was for all of the destruction in this area, you know. And the interesting part also is that when the Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians moved into this region of Akhtam, that they left a corridor for the Azeris to escape, you know, sort of a humanitarian corridor. Right. And, you know, so there was less destruction.
Over here in Azerbaijan, there's a corridor down this valley. There's a corridor through. You can see these purple blobs. They're population centers. And there's a major road, railroad, power lines, all going along here. This makes for a major logistic line paralleling, running along beside Nagorno-Karabakh, circling around and going towards Armenia itself, suggesting a strategy of attacking Armenia rather than Nagorno-Karabakh to try to get Armenia to pressure Nagorno-Karabakh into quitting the fight. Now, there hasn't been too much good. There hasn't been very much newspaper coverage at all. There's been very little good, meaning detailed newspaper coverage of what's been going on here in the battles. But the diplomats, it seems to me that the major reason for the Nagorno-Karabakhans being able to reach this far out is because of the political fractioning of Azerbaijan. And I must say, there are only 150,000 Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. There's at least 35,000, 40,000 in the Azeri army alone, and a potential for mobilizing far more than that. So I would say that the Nagorno-Karabakhans are probably right around their peak right now. And this thing needs to be resolved, in my view. The U.S. is participating in the peace process. Doesn't seem to me they're participating very energetically, but maybe I'm being unfair. But it does seem to me that there's a U.S. interest in bringing this to an end, because we don't want the Russians back in this area trying to reestablish the Soviet Union or the Russian Empire. We don't want Turkey into this area, because we don't want Turkey trying to establish some kind of new version of a Turkic empire, which some Turkish officials have talked about stretching from the Adriatic to China, of which this would be a major piece in beginning to put that together. It seems to me the interest of the United States is no new empires, no new Russian empire, no new Turkish empire, no new Iranian empire from down here. We want these states to be independent, and the way to ensure that is to put an end to this fighting as soon as possible.
And we should remember one thing also, that the blockade has been on now for over 4 years, going into the 5th year.
Yeah, very difficult.
So those people in that area, Armenians and Azeris, are suffering terribly. But the Armenians particularly.
And it really seems to me that the U.S., because it has an interest in bringing this to an end, needs to be as energetic as possible
and
about doing it.
the other thing is that for Azerbaijan, it's probably a face-saving thing, whereas for the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh, it's a matter of life or death.
Americans should take an interest in this, which is hard to do because it's barely mentioned in the newspapers. The Armenians took a lot of guff in the newspapers for moving into these areas, but in terms of preserving Nagorno-Karabakh and trying to keep out, to minimize the shelling, etc., of Nagorno-Karabakh, absolutely have to move into those areas. That isn't to say that they're going to keep them forever, but it certainly gives them something to negotiate about. Good job to you.
work.
Oh,
Thank you for joining us.
okay, thank you.
Йод, ваш мій йод.